So, just for a second, I'm going to let us enjoy this song, which I'm actually quite fond of. Shout out to just Chill from Royalty Free Music. Or, I don't know. That's the title of the song. I think it's wonderful. It's in a very chill mood. With that being said, though, I am your host, Jason Gutierrez, and welcome back to Inconsistency. As you can see, if you are watching the video, I just got new spectacles, so I can see clearer than ever. And my thoughts are also as clear as ever. Another week has passed, and we got a little bit more news. A lot of old news just keeps popping up. Really quickly off of the front on the content creator stuff. We'll just go right into that. All right. So, yeah, I can turn this down. It's getting me a little too calm for this whole thing. All right. So, I keep talking on the show about Europe and how European laws, I feel like, or here, let me restart that. So I keep talking very much about the death of more Western culture and the West in general. And I like to keep the West all together because I feel like they are connected and our laws do affect each other. And, you have to look no further than any politics to see that we take examples from Britain, France, Greece, all of these more Western cultures. So when there are laws that are passed out in Europe that affect the rights that we would have, that would conflict, I should say, with the rights that we have here in America, we come into these impasses where those laws, especially now in a global world with the internet, it affects us being Americans, just as much as it would affect the European countries. And here's an article that shows you what it is that I am talking about and that explains what I'm talking about. So this is from CNBC. YouTube CEO, my apologies, urges creators to protest European copyright law. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki warns video makers about the threat of Article 13 of a controversial copyright law in the European Union. In a blog post, she urges them to, quote, take action immediately and protest the ruling with videos and social media posts. The final form of the legislation is expected to be voted on next year. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I feel like I was watching a few videos over the past week, and some of them that were playing clips of other people and using, just using audio and video from other sources. I feel like they've been getting they've been like censored. They've had these like red blocks around them, or it just gets replaced with a red background with a whole bunch of letters in foreign languages. I'm implying, or I'm assuming that they say something along the lines of, "Oh, this has been taken down due to some copyright law." My apologies, I got rid of the beep 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 bop. So I don't know if that's related to this or not, but that's just a little anecdotal thing that I have for you. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki warned video makers about the threat of a controversial copyright law in the European Union and urges them to take action immediately and protest the ruling with videos and social media posts. This legislation poses a threat to both your livelihood and your ability to share your voice with the world, she writes in a blog post published Monday. I really wish I knew how to pronounce her name. Wojcicki focuses on Article 13 of the EU's new directive on copyright, which passed in early September and makes tech platforms liable for copyright-protected content. Essentially, this means the giant platforms that rely on user-generated content, including Google's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, would be responsible for making sure that users don't share copyrighted materials. As it stands now, the platforms aren't fiscally accountable for violations, although they do need to remove copyrighted contents when right holders ask them to. Okay. So as a company, this seems like a very difficult position to be in. Especially if you're a company that starts in the United States and kind of, especially in the thing, the ideal, I guess, of YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, which is like, oh, we want to have as much communication as possible and have an open on. I mean, it's the internet. The internet is supposed to be just free exchange of information. And while I do understand the instinct to want to protect copyrighted things, we also have to understand one. I believe that these laws would tend to be enforced in a biased way, but also this is in complete contradiction to what America has deemed, or the copyright law of America, and the way that we use fair use, which is if you're using something for social commentary, it's accepted, which protects your right to kind of, it's kind of your right to fight the power and, say the word to the man. I forget the exact phrase that I'm looking for. But basically, you have the right to take something that somebody made and someone published and talk about it to others so that it doesn't go just unchecked, if that's what you choose. Or you get to use clips of a movie to, review it, just small clips under fair use. There are certain things where it's acceptable. I'm no lawyer, but I know that we have fair use laws, and this seems to go in the face of those. Critics say that Article 13 could threaten people's ability to share material like memes or parodies. So I think this has to do with, I think it was the Fat Jew. It's I think it was a Twitter page or an Instagram page, and I believe that he, I don't know if this is necessarily to do with that law, but I know that he was in Dutch for this. He basically would take other people's memes and other people's content and repost it on his page, and he would just get millions and millions of followers and make money off of other people's stuff, it became a big controversy. I think he recently had people unsubscribe from him. So I know there was a scandal in that there. It just gets scary when I see that now it's the states are coming into it and enforcing it on everyone. Wachitsky, let me see. Proponents say that legislation is necessary to protect fair pay for creators and that major tech platforms have been able to skirt responsibility for too long. Wachitsky argues in her blog post that assuming liability for all of YouTube's content would make it too risky for the platform to host videos from smaller content creators. So this is probably, it does make sense because there is a cost, and there's a cost to everything that you do. So YouTube, absolutely, while they do offer their service, like they offer their services free, so long as you pay for ads, or they do have YouTube Red as well. But YouTube is a free hosting service. You can just put your stuff on YouTube, for free, and you can just broadcast it. But especially, what they're saying makes sense. This is kind of the way all regulation works, all of it. Just by definition, all regulation becomes a hurdle that affects only the people, lower down first. That's just by its definition. Any regulation that you could point me to, I could most likely give you the example of how it affects the people lower down first. But so what she's saying here is that it would make it so that small creators, someone like me who's super small, who wouldn't, the cost benefit ratio on just keeping me on YouTube, if I were to be, if I cost them so much money for broadcasting CNBC's or video, if I cost them X amount of money, well, X amount of money is more than the money that I'm bringing in on my views. And YouTube can't just take that loss. That's not how you run a business. So the governments overseas would then be stepping on the ability of young up and coming content creators to be liable for, to just be liable. They would have to enforce their rules very strictly. They would have to invest probably in money to think of technologies that finds these clips and pulls them very quickly. So it's just a big cost, and the people that would most likely end up take on the worst end of it would be the content creators and the people who are the smaller ones that are doing this. She also writes that YouTube's Content ID already protects content owners. Content ID automatically compares the content of new videos to a database of copyrighted video and audio and lets copyright holders decide whether to block a video that uses their content or run ads against it. The EU is expected to vote on a final version of the proposal next year. Here's Jussie's full statement on Article 13. It's a lot of words. TLDR, I don't think she's a fan. She's saying that we should protest it, and I think that is a good idea. And this does happen. European laws affecting things worldwide absolutely does happen. I believe in Europe, this is actually, go branching off into a video game thing, but in Europe, they have made loot boxes illegal. For those of you who don't know what a loot box is, in video games, basically they would have, you would have your characters, and they would have like costumes or sprays or just little digital accessories, shall we say, and they would put them in these boxes that give them out randomly. And a lot of games have followed the model where you can purchase them with real money, or you can, through playing the game, you gain them. But the purchasing them is what became a problem. With real life money is what became a problem. And the European, I forgot what country it was in Europe, but I know in Europe, that was deemed as gambling, and it was deemed illegal for that to be done. So in response to that, companies like Blizzard and other video gaming companies have had to remove that from their games, and they've removed the ability to pay for these loot boxes because, given the random nature of it, they claimed it as gambling. But this just shows, so even if the company isn't necessarily from America, so long as they're selling over there, and in this internet world where everything is global, no matter, like, anything that you do is theoretically global. Anybody can have it so long as you have it on the internet. It shows how the laws of around the world can affect us here in the United States, and I think it's something that we need to be very, very weary of. We need to keep our eyes on, and I suppose we need to protest. It's hard. How do you protest European laws from America? It's a difficult thing to do, but I think, and it's a hard thing to ask, I guess, but I think we just need to support the companies that are speaking out against all of the censorship the loudest, and the companies that decide, well, you can ban us if you want to, but we're not gonna pay your fines, and we're not gonna stop putting stuff up. So, you can ban us from your country if you want to, and then it would be up to the people in that country to go to their lawmakers and say, hey, what the hell? We like our YouTube. YouTube has been providing us this service that we obviously like, and you guys imposing your regulations has led that to leave YouTube. But the problem is YouTube would have to take a tremendous loss. They would have to take a tremendous loss in that European market, and that's just a lot for a company to ask for. Speaking of asking for things, no, that's not exactly the greatest segue. But I know that I promised something a while ago that I would not be talking about a certain someone anymore. But damn it, the news just kept coming, and this breakthrough came out very, 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 very juicy. Okay, so Mr. Jussie Smollett, as we all, I'm sure, are aware, he claimed back in December, I want to say, he claimed a few months ago to have been the victim of a hate crime where some people donning MAGA hats poured bleach on him and put a noose on him and told him, "This is MAGA country, you gay N-word." And then evidence came out that this didn't seem to be the case. If you don't remember, I made a video with the Nigerian brothers who were like, who was one of them was on the show. Apparently they were training Jussie. So all of these connections were weird. You know, there's video of the two brothers buying the nooses and the ski masks. So there's all of this evidence coming out to suggest that Jussie Smollett was lying. And it came out maybe a month ago, or not that long ago, came out that Jussie Smollett was being charged with, I believe, 16 counts of, he was being charged with 16 counts. Well, yeah, I know he was being kind of charged with 16. I don't remember exactly what it was. Facing up to 64 years in jail, which I thought was a bit ridiculous. 64 years for what he did seemed like a lot, but this is the exact opposite of the 64 years in jail. Jussie Smollett charges dropped. Okay, so the charges have been dropped, and the reason why they've been dropped are very interesting, and I think this is something that I need to dig into. But first, let's give the very important detail that they gave right off the front. So state's attorney believed her office could prove Smollett guilty. Okay, so Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, in her interview with CNN Chicago affiliate WLS, expressed confidence in her office could have proved Jussie Smollett guilty. You'd have to be a bad prosecutor to not be able to point him out as guilty. State's Attorney Smollett representative did reach out to her. So Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx tells CNN Chicago affiliate that a relative of actor Jussie Smollett did reach out to her and express concerns about the investigation. The caller asked if there was a way she could make sure the leaks were at a minimum in the case. Fox says the family reached out to her because they didn't have connections to the police department, and indicates this was before Smollett was named a suspect. Relatives had asked Fox if there was any way the FBI could take over this investigation. Fox says she shared the fact that she spoke with the family member with Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson about their request for the FBI to take it over. Fox said the case was not being treated differently, notes that people reach out to her all the time. Okay, so we're already starting to get into why it is that this case was dropped. And, you know, not only was the case dropped, I can finish that and bring out this other detail in 1 second. So not only were the charges dropped for Jussie, the case was sealed. So they don't even want people digging in. They don't want people reading it. They've sealed the case. You can't get into the details of it. By the way, this obviously happened. Jussie's obviously, I mean, I'm no lawyer, and I would have to say alleged, but as far as I can see it, he obviously did falsify that hate crime, and he asked them to do it. But it seems that for certain people are above the law. And this is the part of it that really is bothersome. Now, I will say full disclosure, I didn't think Jussie was going to do it. I thought he was going to get off for sure. I thought it was going to be a little different in that I thought Jussie was going to go to rehab or say that he had some problem and then walk for that. But it turns out he just simply, I don't know, maybe called in a few favors. If you're not aware, you can pull up pictures of Mr. Jussie Smollett. He was very active in the gay community, or in the LGBT community, I should say. And he was pretty chummy with a lot of the Democratic Party. Miss Kamala Harris, there's videos and pictures of them two together, and I believe Elizabeth Warren as well. Michelle Obama's ex-chief of staff admits she did try to intervene in Smollett investigation. After evidence came to light that the former chief of staff of Michelle Obama had attempted to intervene on behalf of the Smollett family to get the investigation turned over to the FBI, the ex-aide, prominent Chicago attorney Tina Chen, has now gone on the record to confirm that she did contact the state's attorney, whose office eventually let Smollett off the hook. In a statement of USA Today on Wednesday, Chen addressed the reports that she had emailed Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx to request on behalf of Smollett Smollett's. Oh, I get it. Kim Fox to request on behalf of the Smolletts that the investigation be taken out of the hands of the Chicago Police Department, which would eventually conclude that Smollett had orchestrated an alleged, quote, hoax, hate crime against himself. I know members of the Smollett family based on prior work together, Chen said in the statement Wednesday. Shortly after Mr. Smollett reported he was attacked as a family friend, I contacted Cook County State Attorney Kim Fox, who I also know from prior work together. My sole activity was to put the chief prosecutor in the case in touch with an alleged victim's family who had concerns about how the investigation was being characterized in public. To voice the family's concerned about how Chicago police were handling the case. Spoke to they were actually handling the case and investigating it and actually putting out the proof that, it seems that you had a relationship with these people that attacked you, and it seems that this doesn't fit the description that you gave us at all. Oh, also, we checked every single camera in this one of the most riddled cities in America, and we found nothing to work off of what you're saying. After Chen spoke to superintendent, I convinced him to reach out to the FBI to ask that they take over. Spoke to the superintendent earlier. He made the ask. Fox told Smollett family member whose name was redacted from release of court documents, trying to figure out logistics. I'll keep you posted. Oh my God, this would be a huge victory. I'll make no response, but I'm trying. Okay, so that's pretty much it. This story takes one more turn in a second, but right now, this is why I get bothered when we talk about white privilege in America. I'm not going to necessarily say white privilege doesn't exist because I don't believe that's true. But I believe there are a lot of privileges and everybody's given certain ones at birth. Everybody's being dealt, everybody's being dealt cards. And some of them are good for you, and some of them are bad, and some of them are going to be a crutch, and some of them are going to help you. But every one of them is your cards. I don't see white privilege as any more or less helpful than being good looking or charming. I just don't. I think that can be used to take you further than to simply be white. Because you can be white and uncharming and bad to look at, and you're going to have hardships in life that somebody who didn't have that happen to them, that didn't have that exact situation, that they won't deal with. Everybody's got to deal with differences in life. Everybody's going to have different hardships. You could say it's a privilege to have both parents in the house. It's a privilege to eat. I mean, it's certainly a privilege to live in a first world country, and that's a privilege that most of the world isn't blessed with. So we should remember that. But what annoys me the most about the white privilege argument is I believe it completely negates and forgets about the real privilege in this world, and especially in the first world, I'll say, which is connected people. They get off on anything. They can run the world. Yeah. So as long as you're in with the Democratic Party and you fit all of these things, you fit all of these brackets, okay, we charged you with this much, but we have friends who can call a prosecutor, and then we'll get this moved over to the FBI because the FBI didn't spend any money on investigating this. It was the Chicago police that put all of their money and man hours into investigating this when, Chicago didn't have anything else going on. So they had a whole bunch of free time in their hands in Chicago, the murder city of the Midwest. That goes by the moniker of Chirac. They didn't have anything better to do. So they took it away from the Chicago police because they knew they would be more inclined to try this and to prosecute this to the fullest extent that they could. And they take it over to the feds. And then, of course, he's partners with the Democratic Party. A couple DOJ calls here. Somebody gets paid over there, and then what happens? So as long as you're Jussie Smollett or you're one of these upper class people, and you can't argue. Just because you're black, Jussie, doesn't mean you're not privileged. If there's somebody who's privileged, it's definitely Jussie Smollett. It's hard to argue otherwise. But if you're one of these people that are in that upper class, and I don't even mean upper class necessarily in money, it's just a status thing. It's I mean, money gets you in there. At a certain point, it has to. But I think more than that is just connections, and it's more a politics game, I believe, than that. But the big point of what I'm trying to say here is that we need to stop focusing on simply, oh, it's white privilege versus black. It's white versus black. It's white versus black. It's like, no. Understand, just because somebody has your skin color doesn't mean they feel like they're in your class. Like, I believe Obama, even though he was black, I believe he saw himself as a class above everyone under him. I just do. I think it's hard for somebody not to in his position. You know, you're Harvard. You were president. You're Harvard. You went to Harvard. Once you get into these certain things, I feel like elitism happens, and I think that the elites hang out with the elites. And when you hang out with people that rule themselves, that treat themselves as the elite, you see yourself as better than others, and that forces the class system. And then when you think you're better than others, you do things like get your friends off on the laws that if somebody else would break, they would be in jail for. But okay, I didn't think that Jussie was going to be tried. I thought that he was going to get off for sure. I thought it was going to be rehab, but I didn't think he was going to go to jail. I thought that it would be just a slap on the wrist and a don't do this again, and he would just, back off and hide and disappear. Never in a million years would I have expected this to be the outcome of his 64, that this would be the outcome of his 16 charges and this faking of a hate crime and just trying to drum up racial tensions in America. This is, by the way, I don't think anybody wanted this. Nobody. Okay, let me just, before I start flying off the handle. Jussie Smollett is nominated for an NAACP award, and host Anthony Anderson hopes he wins. You would think this was 2018. You would think this was a long time ago that we're talking about an NAACP award. But no. This was published at 12:08 p.m. Eastern Time on March 29th, 2019. For those of you counting, this is March 30th. That is 1 day ago. That is yesterday. And the case being dropped came out, I believe, 3 days ago. And the DLJ stuff, I believe, came out around the same time. So this is after everything got dropped. But let's see what they're saying, because maybe we got this all wrong. Let's see how they justify this. All right, let's see if I can get a little bit of Zoom action. There we go. Okay. Just days after the prosecutor dropped all charges against Jussie Smollett, who had been indicted on 16 counts of disorderly conduct, the Empire actor could again make headlines. Smollett is nominated for the 2019 NAACP Image Awards scheduled for Saturday. Six-time host and Blackish star Anthony Anderson told Variety on Wednesday that he hopes to see the controversial actor there. Quote, "I hope he wins," he added. "I'm happy for him that the system worked for him in his favor, because the system isn't always fair, especially for people of color. So I'm glad it worked out for him." I'm stunned. I haven't read this. I'm floored. It really is just the OJ thing. That's all it is, because he didn't say he's innocent. You can read in that. He didn't say, "Oh, I don't believe he did this," or "It's sad that he was attacked." You're like, no, he beat the system. He beat the system. He got off. Congrats to Jussie. That's what this is. The system isn't always fair, so I'm glad it worked out for him. When asked whether or not Smollett would be in attendance at the award ceremony this year, Representative Pamela Sharp told USA Today she did, quote, "not have information as of now." This is the fourth consecutive year he has been nominated in the Image Awards, Outstanding Support Actor in Drama Series category. He previously won in that category in 2017, and he also nabbed 3 different music-related image awards for his work on Empire. According to IMDb, he's been in attendance for the last 3 award shows. It is not my place or any other person's place to judge him or whatnot, but I'm glad that he's nominated. I hope he wins because I'd be interested to hear his speech. Well, there you go. You put out a fake hate crime. You put out a fake hate crime. You blame half of the country. You blame Trump supporters. You cost your city hundreds of thousands of dollars, and more than that, you tried to drum up a race war. You really put you're putting a wedge in this already very divided country, and you're just putting your wedge in there and just slamming the hammer down because for whatever of your own personal reasons you want to do that. But maybe Anthony Anderson's right. Maybe we should hear a speech. The man can speak. It's hard to stall while I'm looking things up. But the man can speak, and I would like to see what he has to say after. I would like to see what he has to say once all the charges are dropped, and let's see. Maybe he's sorry. Maybe there's a reason to let him off. I don't know. Maybe he's had a change of heart. Maybe he's changing. That's possible. People do that. I gotta hold out hope for him. So let's see. Let's see exactly what Jussie Smollett thinks about being let go or being allowed to go free. As soon as my internet wants to work, cut that off. One sec. I want to thank my family, my friends. Sorry, a lot of production, too few chefs in the kitchen. The incredible people of Chicago and all over the country and the world who have prayed for me, who have supported me, who've shown me so much love. No one will ever know how much that has meant to me, and I will forever be grateful. I want you to know that not for a moment was it in vain. I've been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one. Insanity. I would not be my mother's son. That's crazy. You're lying. First of all, I want to thank my family, now my thing jumped. Friends, sorry. The incredible people of Chicago and all over the country and the world who have prayed for me, who have supported me, who've shown me so much love. No one will ever know how much that has meant to me, and I will forever be grateful. I want you to know that not for a moment was it in vain. I've been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one. Okay. I would not be my mother's son. That objectively false, Jussie. You have not been consistent, and you have not been truthful at all. This is psychotic behavior. And that just shows you the narcissism. And this is something that this grinds my gears worse than anything else, is when somebody just lies to me, to my face, with a straight face and no shame. This might be the most shameless speech I've ever heard. He says that he has been consistent and truthful since day one. No, Jussie, your story changed multiple times within hours. At first, your story said that they were white people, with MAGA hats, and they were Trump supporters. And then you said, oh, well, you know what? They were wearing ski masks, and you can't see a lot because it was cold outside. But that's what happens. Okay, so the story change is already there. Then more information comes out. Turns out you don't want to give up. You don't want to give up your phone. You say that you were talking to your manager when you were attacked. And that he was on the phone with you, and then the police ask you for the phone, and it's like, nope, actually, no, I don't want to give you the phone. I can't. And then you do give him the phone, and then you've been deleting stuff, so objectively false. But how? I mean, give the man the Oscar. Maybe he does deserve that NAACP award, because if it's about maintaining an image, This man can do it. Come hell or high water, Jussie Smollett will stick to his story, and he will deliver it as though it is the truth. I really think he's convinced himself. He must be under hypnosis.
If I was capable of one drop of what I've been accused of, this has been an incredibly difficult time, honestly one of the worst of my entire life. But I'm a man of faith, and I'm a man that has knowledge of my history, and I would not bring my family, our lives, or the movement through a fire like this. I just wouldn't.
You have.
So I want to thank my legal counsel.
You did.
From the bottom of my heart. And I would also like to thank the state of Illinois for attempting to do what's right. Now I'd like nothing more than to just get back to work and move on with my life. But make no mistakes, I will always continue to fight for the justice, equality, and betterment of marginalized people everywhere.
You did the exact opposite. You probably brought him back further than anybody else. You definitely took him back further than anyone else this year. That's for sure. Also, when you say go back to work, yeah, I don't know how quickly Empire's gonna have you back. Apparently, Fox had very terrible ratings on the latest shows of Empire. Some people are arguing that it's terrible because they wrote him off the show, and some people are saying it's terrible because Jussie was on the show. Either way, Empire is not having a good time, and I believe that Jussie will not be showing up on Fox's airwaves anytime soon. But I could be wrong because I didn't anticipate an NAACP award, so I've been wrong before, and the world is strange. But that's enough about Jussie. But we can talk about his cohorts in the Democratic Party. And I want to talk about another old story that I had been speaking on for you guys, was AOC's Green New Deal. If you do not recall, I told you a couple weeks ago that Mitch McConnell was planning to force a vote on Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal, and he did so. And it turns out, spoiler alert, it did not pass, and actually it got 0 votes. That's the real meat on this bone, is that it got 0 votes. Not one person would put their name on this. But look at this spin, this beautiful, beautiful spin that the Democrats are putting out there, and the Washington Post is, because they are this is excellent propaganda work. This is the best. This is just the best use of language and the best victimizing of yourself and victimizing. I don't know. This is definitely the best use, the best propaganda I've seen in a long time. Senate defeats Green New Deal as Democrats call vote a, quote, sham. So in 2019, it is a sham to make people vote. It's a sham for the Republicans to make Democrats vote on their own bills, or on their own proposals, I should say. That's a sham. The Senate on Tuesday rejected the Green New Deal, with Republicans casting the proposal to reduce dependence on fossil fuels to combat climate change as far-left idea, with Democrats taking the rare step of voting, quote, present on a politically driven vote. All right, already seen the bias, but think about how bad and how ridiculous your proposal must be for your entire party to say, yeah, I was here, but I'm not. And this is what I said before. I said that she's putting everybody in a really bad position of they can't go against her because ALC's got all the juice in the Democratic Party right now. If there's anybody to look at, and there's anybody to try to get if there's anybody right now that can give their blessing and just blow you up, I think it's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I believe if she were old enough and she were running for president, she would absolutely have to be the nominee. She'd be beating everyone by far, which is very scary of a, it terrifies me, and it's insane to think of, but I'm almost positive that is the case. The measure failed on a 57-0 vote, with all Republicans and 4 Democrats blocking the resolution, aiming to avoid an intra-party fight on the issue. 43 Democrats, including those who introduced the Green New Deal, voted present. The vote Tuesday came against the backdrop of historic flooding in the Midwest and repeated warnings. This is hilarious. Look at how Washington Post is like, yep, I'm right on your side. By the way, there's been flooding and global warming is a horrible, horrible thing. And look, people are dying and people are just remember they didn't vote for it, but this is bad. This is scary. Be scared. And repeated warnings, including from agencies in Trump administration about the economic and environmental impact of failing to deal with global warming. Yet the vote amounted to a political show vote as President Trump and Republicans deride the Green New Deal, but few in Congress have worked on crafting a bipartisan approach to deal with climate change. Here's the problem. What if I don't think, what if none of what you're proposing I agree with? Bipartisan means, you have, there is no bipartisan. People say bipartisan just to say, come to the left. That's it. Bipartisan simply always means it's always one side demanding something and the other side folding. That's it. And then once that it's always the left demanding something. Once the right folds on it, eventually down the years, they say, you know what? No, we don't like this. We want to take this back. And then you can't. And then you're an extremist. And then whatever it is that you started folding on goes further and further and further and further and further until, we are reporting children at 9 months. The broad proposal from freshman Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez envisions the United States achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions within a decade while guaranteeing Americans high-paying jobs and high-quality health care. Is she Jesus? I don't understand how we can even, we're grown-ups, right? Aren't we? Are we adults or not? Do we understand the world or no? How the fuck does she think she can just write into law, everyone gets a job, the world will be at the perfect temperature, and everybody will live forever. Everybody's healthcare will be taken care of. You can just write that into law. Yeah, that doesn't cost anything. You can just write it into law, and then you'll just take money to pay for it later because apparently we have that. What do you have? Fountains of youth. I was listening to Gene Epstein on Dave Smith's part of the problem, and they were talking about the Jews, but this is not me going on the Jews, but Gene Epstein was saying that the Jews had a messianic complex, but that got me thinking of others, and he was kind of saying that Marx, who was a Jew, had that messianic complex, and that's why he thought that his communism would fix the world, make everybody great. But I think that this is a bit of a messianic complex. If you don't know what I mean by a messianic complex, it's just a Jesus complex or a God complex or a savior complex. And I think that's what this Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has. And I think that everybody's just kind of following along with her. That they just need it to be done. Literally, she's saying within 10 years, we're going to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions. It's that's not even sort of realistic. You didn't even why not? You can't even go. I mean, it would be crazy for you to propose this. But if you said we're going to reduce our net greenhouse emissions by 50% in a decade, it would still be crazy. But it would at least show a semblance of reason and logic and practicality in somebody. But she just says, nope, in 10 years, we're going to have net zero greenhouse gases and everybody's going to have a high paying job. So everybody's going to be rich and everybody's healthcare is going to be, when she says high quality healthcare, she means it's going to be free. That's what she's saying. Republicans call it unrealistic and see it as a means to divide Democrats, pitting liberals who have embraced the idea, including some 2020 presidential hopefuls, against moderates from Republican-leaning states. Joining Republicans in voting no or Democrats sense, what's a sense? Doug Jones from Alaska, Joe Manchin III from West Virginia, and Kristen Sinema from Arizona. Kind of rural states. So not the city slickers. It's the people who actually understand that, like, no, actually, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, cow farts aren't killing the world. We actually need to farm. Otherwise, we're all gonna go bankrupt, and you're gonna just kill us all. Or at the very least, you're gonna bankrupt us all, and we're gonna live in huts. I mean, she was proposing that we tear down and rebuild and renovate all of the buildings, and that all gas emission cars be removed from the streets in 10 years, and that we wouldn't have airplanes. We would build bullet trains in 10 years. She wants to transform America in 10 years. Now, if in fairness, America has changed drastically in a little bit over 200 years, almost 250 years. America has transformed itself in the world immensely. But you can't just write a law and then that happens. Otherwise, why don't you write a law? Everyone will be rich. Everything will be free. If just writing a law can do it, why not? Minimum wage is $1,000 an hour. You can just write it down. Why not? It is. I can't see it as any other way right now, except a messianic complex and just her thinking that, yeah, my ideas are so great and I'm so right and it's perfect and it's going to help everything and we can do everything and we can have our cake and eat it too. Oh, and also we can save it for later. It's forcing the vote was Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who called the plan a far left wish list. The proposal addressed a smaller matter, eliminating the use. Okay. All right, so that's a lot. I'm not going to read this entire thing. But, maybe she sees that nobody supported this, and maybe Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, maybe she starts to see reason, and she's like, okay, maybe I go back to the drawing board and I write something that we can come to tables and we can bring up a discussion, and maybe we can actually put up a bill that can get some of what I want on there, and we can still have a very healthy conversation, and I can try to understand why these people on the other side of the aisle disagree with me. Maybe that's her take on the whole thing. Maybe that's where she's going. Let's see what she has to say.
Issue. This is a quality of life issue. You want to tell...
Sorry.
This is not an elitist issue. This is a quality of life issue. You want to tell people that their concern and their desire for clean air and clean water is elitist? Tell that to the kids in the South Bronx, which are suffering from the highest rates of childhood asthma in the country. Tell that to the families in Flint, whose kids have their blood is ascending in lead levels. Their brains are damaged for the rest of their lives.
Notice it's all, well, I think she's going to disprove what I was going to say, so I'll just let it go.
You're telling them that those kids are trying to get on a plane to Davos? People are...
Oh, really quickly, actually, yeah, let me bring this up. Both of those places that she just mentioned, Democrat run. Both of those failures are failures of the government. Like Flint absolutely is 100% a failure of the government. The government claims to provide water for the people. The government is in charge of this, and they failed Flint. Honestly, if the free market were in charge of this, and the people weren't depending on the government to fix it, and they weren't just sitting there begging their messiah, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to change the laws so that they can get their water cleaned, if instead of depending on daddy government, the people of Flint just said, hey, look, we're going to set up a GoFundMe. We're going to call up some companies. We're going to call up some plumbing companies. We're going to get the biggest ones. We're going to call a few of them and have them give us competing quotes. And then we're either going to start a GoFundMe, or we're just going to start pooling our own money together, or we can go to local companies and even big corporations, and we'll say, hey, look, we have this quote from X plumbing company and X excavating contractors. They said that they can fix our problem and get the water running cleanly and renew our plumbing system for so much money and in so much time. This is the quote. If you are willing to sponsor us or give us this much, if you're willing to sponsor this in any way, shape you can write your name on the water tower, and we'll name that the Walmart water tower. You think Walmart doesn't want to get a part of that? You don't think Walmart would like to be part of would want the publicity of, one, having their money on or having their sign on the water tower, but two, just the publicity of like, oh yeah, Walmart brought water and fixed the plumb. Not brought water, because I'm so annoyed. And I know Jaden Smith recently, he was bringing water to Flint, and everybody gets so excited. I'm like, no. That's it's so temporary. I don't want to see more bringing water. No, I want to see people, oh yeah, they're changing pipes. They're putting in long-term solutions to this problem that's been going on for years. But just to put a nice bow tie on that, just remember, Flint is absolutely a failure of the government. By the way, the government of Michigan is very, very Democrat.
Dying. They are dying. And the response across the other side of the aisle is to introduce
She's fiery.
an amendment 5 minutes before a hearing and a markup. This is serious. This should not be a partisan issue. This is about our constituents and all of our lives. Iowa, Nebraska, broad swaths of the Midwest are drowning right now.
Why did no one agree with you? Not even your party agrees with you. Why is that? No one's willing to put their name on what you do.
Underwater, farms, towns that will never be recovered and never come back.
That's never. Never. Ever? Forever? That's seems a bit fear-mongery.
And we're here, and people are more concerned about helping oil companies than helping their own families? I don't think so.
I'll tell you, she's babbling like a fucking idiot, but this is a fucking great look for her. This is an excellent speech. She seems passionate. She seems to care about people. She's nonsense. This is all nonsense and fluff, and her not even really dancing around the issue of nobody supports it. And she's just saying this isn't an elitist issue. She picks out the easiest. Oh my gosh. The easiest objection that people throw at her, and she just runs with that one. And then she's like, you think I'm elitist? People are dying. The world is burning. People are dying. Death, sadness. And you guys don't care. You guys are bad. But it's a good look for her. I'm telling you, as far as I feel like the words mean nothing, but they sound great. And I think that is 8/10 of politics.
This is about our lives. This is about American lives. And it should not be partisan. Science should not be partisan. We are facing a national crisis. And if we do not ascend to that crisis, if we do not ascend to the levels in which we were threatened at the Great Depression, when we were threatened in World War II, if we do not ascend to those levels, if we tell...
That's crazy. So you want arguably one of the worst times in like the world's history. Literally. That seems hard to argue, but definitely in the modern world, certainly if you were going to argue what were some of the worst of times in the world, you would have to argue World War II. Europe is being bombed. There's parts of France that you still can't go in because they're covered in landmines. Entire cities being bombed. Concentration camps. Rationing in the United States. We're running right off of the Great Depression. Now the women now had to work at just simply rationing. Understand, there was rationing in the United States where you could not have bread, you couldn't have tires, you couldn't have chocolate. You were buying war bonds. American people were buying war bonds to fund you're buying useless paper for what? That's the time that she looks at with like sparkly eyes and like, oh, if only we can do that again. Do you understand? Do you understand how much suffering and like people dealt with it because it was under the guise of we are saving the world. So that's what she's trying to push. But I don't like, that's what's scary about it, is that she's trying to work off of the same, when there's a genuine war, it's pretty easy to be like, yeah, we're saving the world over here. Hitler's the bad guy. He's taking over this, and that. And then you can go into the Red Scare. It's World War II. I'm sorry. Arguing that global warming is World War II is a bit superfluous. Especially considering you are only, like, what you're suggesting only affects America, but that's what she looks at. I'm telling you, look back into World War II. There wasn't a good time. Oh, also, the hundreds of thousands and millions. I think probably hundreds of thousands of Americans, but millions and millions of men were dying in that war, dying during that time. And you look at that like, if only we could elevate back to that level.
The American public that we are more willing to invest and bail out big banks than we are willing to invest in our farmers and our urban.
That was President Barack Obama who did that. And I think if you the same people that you're berating would be the same people that would have told you that the bank bailouts were not a good idea. But, you know, whatever.
Families, then I don't know what we're here doing. I don't know what we're here doing. This is not.
Well, I'm telling you, girl knows what she's doing, man. She's good. But of course, not everybody likes Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And here's a video of the son of a certain somebody who I know for a fact Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez does not like. This man goes by the name of Donald Trump Jr., and he was in Michigan at a rally, and let's see how he or his people feel about a Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This is just breaking news. We shall see this in 1 second. Boom.
Think about the fact that every mainstream leading Democratic contender is taking the advice of a freshman congresswoman who 3 weeks ago didn't know the 3 branches of government. I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty scary.
Okay. Oh, wow. I hate that they they cut away there, those scumbags. All right. So if you didn't hear it, it was a little quiet. Donald Trump Jr. is in Michigan. He's at a rally. He says, he says that it's scary how everybody's listening to this freshman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And his fans, or the people who went to the rally there, started chanting, AOC sucks. AOC sucks. AOC sucks. So, and then after this video cut, this is CBS that they cut it there, but right after that, Trump Jr., he says, with a smile on his face, it's very tongue-in-cheek. He says, you guys are not very nice at all. And then he's like, just like what she would do to this country if her plans were put into place. Yeah, it's corny. But yeah, he does say you guys are not very nice. Very tongue-in-cheek. I find it funny that CBS News cut it there, but that's fine. It's not worth going back and finding another piece and finding another video to that. But I don't think, that's what it happens. So let's see what Miss AOC has to say about how the other side of the politics, how the other side feels about her. Let's see if I can. Not now. Sorry, the Wi-Fi ain't great. Let's see if I can. I'm hoping there's not an ad in this. Yep, there's an ad. Okay, I'm just waiting on the ad, and then we can bring up exactly what we're talking about. Oh, protect your income, everybody. Okay,
The
no.
new villain for Republicans, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is fighting back against this attack that Donald Trump Jr. used to
Are you not gonna? Oh, there it goes. All right, sorry about that.
rally the base last night.
Think about the fact that every
Okay, yeah, we saw that.
leading
Let's see.
Democratic contender. You guys, you're not very nice.
All right, that was what we
Moments
missed.
ago, Ocasio-Cortez responded.
All right, let's see what she has to say.
He doesn't have another woman, Hillary Clinton or whoever else, to vilify anymore. So they need to find another woman to kind of prop up and become a lightning rod.
What do you say?
All right, I don't know if she said more, but that's the clip CNN gave me, and CNN is nothing if not trying to flatter the left, so I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's probably the juicy part of it, and I doubt that she went on anything else. This is everyone's a victim. She has to make it that she's a victim. She's like, oh yeah, they hate me because I'm a woman. So that's simple. I don't know what we're doing anymore, guys. It's such a childish and just so willing to see other people as evil. And she is, and I like how even the CNN reporter started this off by saying, yeah, the villain of the right. It's like, she's only a villain because she's pushing everybody to socialism. I don't know. I'll leave you guys with that. I really just think about it. When you're being, the other side doesn't like you, and your first response is just to say, yep, this is how they feel about women. Since they don't have Hillary Clinton, they hate women, so they're choosing to hate me. And that's all that it is. And there's nothing else to it. All I want to leave you guys with is do not, let's just remember that it's not a black and white thing, because I think that's the most important part of this video. It's not a black and white thing. Privilege is not subject to just, it's not just white privilege versus black unprivilege. Oh my goodness. Versus black unprivilege. That's not how the world works. And I think we would benefit a lot from toning that type of speech down and trying to understand that it's not, those aren't the sides to fight against. A black and white, like a poor black person and a poor white person have far more in common than a black person in the ghetto and a black person in Harvard. And the same for a white person. So I think if there's anything we can do, I want that to be the message of this video, that instead of focusing on white privilege and just making everything a black and white thing, understand that, yes, there is privilege in this world. Yes, there are elites that are above the law, but it is not just a skin. It's not just a skin thing. And those people, even, those people who you are vilifying on either side, but the way I see it in the mainstream, I believe it is far more just people hating on white people. I think very much the white people that are getting the most hate thrown at them right now and are walking on eggshells the most want very much to be helpful, but I believe they are being pushed away. And I think it would be very tragic for them to be pushed away, because I think that they, not to say that white people are better than others, but I do think that, I just think they have kind of, they're certainly different. And I'll just leave it at that. They live different lives to, Hispanics and black people, just to put it frank. I've lived, I've moved quite a bit in my life. And right now I live on a mostly white area and a more middle, I'll put it like right in the middle of middle class area. And it's nice, I have to say. I feel much happier living like that than I did when I lived in more poor areas. And by poor areas, I believe it's quite clear who my neighbors were, whether they looked like me or they didn't. So it was, I think we shouldn't vilify people so quickly. And I think we need to try to make bridges on this. Also, let's not all try to be victims. Let's try to quit that victim mentality. But right now I'm rambling. And I just want to get to the end of this video because that's where we are at. So as always, you can feel free to follow me. Why is this not playing? What is going on? You can feel free to follow me at Based Sammy Sosa on Twitter. And please, I don't know if I've ever plugged it on this show, but please, tomorrow around 6:30 p.m. Central Time, I will be hosting my other show with my bestest of buddies, Mr. Richard Lively, and that show is Debate 708. Once again, I am Based Sammy Sosa on Twitter. You are listening to Inconsistency. I think Inconsistency is on Twitter too. I don't really check it much, but I mean, if you want to talk to me there, you can. Otherwise, just talk to me at Based Sammy Sosa. To everybody who's listening and everybody who watched, I appreciate you very much. Everybody have a blessed day. Take it very easy. Fight for freedom of speech and fight internet censorship. Fight that law in the EU. Fight for the West. Everybody take it easy. Have a great weekend. I love you all. Remember, stay consistent.